Hi there. Welcome to HLS Modern Workplace Talk. My name is Michael Giannotti, and I'm an HLS or Healthcare and Life Sciences Technology Specialist for the Microsoft Corporation. If you have questions and want to find more information about the modern workplace, you can always find me and my colleagues at aka.ms/HLS blog. That's aka.ms/HLS blog. What are we here for today? Well, today we're here to talk about getting started with Microsoft Team Guest Access. And I'm reading this here. Answers to the top 3 questions. So in the last couple of days, last 2 business days, not today, but yesterday and Friday, I met with different customers where the area that was top of mind with these folks was Microsoft Teams Guest Access. They love Teams. There were a couple of hospitals that they were leveraging it, starting to spread it out within their organization. But the one issue that they were seeing was that their users wanted to then extend, as is natural, those collaborative capabilities outside of their organization. So in the case of hospitals, they had other healthcare professionals that they wanted to collaborate, but it could be anything. It could be partners, vendors, researchers. I deal with pharmaceuticals often. It could be all kinds of ways, but along those lines, it really broke down, and I've seen this time and time again, to 3 major things they were looking at. One, how do I enable guest access in Microsoft Teams, and what does that guest access interaction look like? All right, that's number one. Number two, they want to know how do they secure guest access to limit it only to authorized external entities. So it's not the Wild West. They can control it, start small, and slowly expand that footprint of those users who can be brought in as an external entity for guest access. And finally, how do they manage that external access in order to keep their Azure AD cleaned up? Because there's a rule that we'll talk about that's math as far as how many people can actually be granted that guest access. It's not unlimited. So that's the top 3. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to take a quick gaze through each of these 3 questions, talk through them real briefly, but then at the end of this presentation, if you look down below, if you're not just on YouTube, our YouTube channel, but actually on our blog site here at techcommunities.microsoft.com. If you're there, then you will see the resources that go further and take in-depth explanations and all the documentation around the things I'm going to briefly mention. But to get you jump started, let's go ahead and look at one. How do I enable guest access in Microsoft Teams, and what does that guest access interaction look like? Well, it's pretty simple. You can certainly PowerShell, and I've got, again, resources to that on how you can go ahead and turn on and configure your team access or your Microsoft Teams guest access. But you can just go to the admin center, right? If you're a tenant admin, you can go to the admin center and you can actually turn it on right from there. Point and click, and you're done. But the story, we know, does not end there, right? Also, at a quick highlight, what does that interaction look like? Again, there is, I have resources that there's a whole laundry list of what you see, don't see, how this works, how that doesn't work, etc. But at a quick highlight, guests, when they come in, they can participate in conversations, they can interact with, share, edit, and work with files, right? And that means that also any of the underlying SharePoint components that are there, you can make pieces available. Maybe you create a custom list or something in that underlying SharePoint. You want to then expose that as a tab. They'll have access to that, right? And then also they can participate in meetings. All of this is part of that collaborative experience. What they don't have access to, right, out of the box is, for example, if you expose another application that is a tab, right? Especially if that's going to somewhere else, because permissions, while Teams serves as that aggregate view, bringing together all the things that your team needs to get their work done on a given day, what it doesn't do is those other pieces that we're aggregating and pulling in. they're not a part of your org, we don't automatically permission them with access. So if you have sensitive data and applications and things they should not have access to, unless you explicitly go in and permission them, they don't have access to it. It's that simple. But again, we'll have a little bit more information down below that you can take a look at and peruse through to get that story straight for org. Next, how do I secure guest access, limiting that access to only authorized entities? I've heard this time and time again. Folks, in IT, and I understand it, they want to get their feet wet. They want to get their arms around the application. Let's give it a nice hug. No, but they want to really get their arms around what's happening. And so they want to limit, right? And one of the most frequent ways that they can do that is by using whitelisting. So you have the ability to go in and whitelist or blacklist domains. Whitelist means when you whitelist, it means unless a domain is explicitly added, those users from that domain don't have access. They can't be added. If you blacklist, that means everybody has access except those ones that you are blocking, those domains that you're blocking. A frequent thing that we do, and actually it came up in both of those sessions previously, I'm a participant with the account team working with those two hospitals. They would like to collaborate with me. I don't know why, but they want to talk to me, right? No, I do have a thing or two to say, and they have free questions. And email, as we know, is a dumping ground for everything. So what better way than to get your feet wet by creating a Microsoft team, enabling guest access, and then whitelisting Microsoft.com. Bam! Once you do that, now you can invite people from the Microsoft account team, your technology specialists like myself and others from just the Microsoft domain to be active participants in that team or other teams that you may set up. My last one was actually setting up 4 teams, and they were going to invite various people from the account teams to those different teams. Teams. Yes. So whitelisting and blacklisting, it's a great way to do that. Whitelisting is perfect, right? Because again, set up a team and collaborate with your Microsoft account team members. And it's a great way to get your feet wet, work with them, and then not be emailing documents and all that stuff back and forth. True modern collaboration. Bam. Moving to number 3. How do I manage external access in order to keep Azure AD cleaned up and ensure we are staying within the allotted number of guest access users for our organization? Just read that all right there. Well, what that means is this, right? Guest access does have its limits. So the way it works is, as an organization, you have Office 365. For every one of your users, not my users, your users, for every one of your users that is a licensed Office 365 member, they can have up to 5, count that again, 5 guest access users. Now, that does not mean when that user uses up 5, there's no more available. That's not what it means. It means take the total bucket of number of people. Let's say you had, I don't know, you have 100 licensed users. My accounts tend to have thousands or hundreds of thousands, but you have 100 licensed users, right? And now that means you take 100 times 5, that means 500. So now I can have 100 licensed users and 500 external guest users. So why do we want to worry about cleaning things up? Well, people tend to come and go, they add people to teams, etc. There is a process whereby you can do cleanup, and that's called Azure AD access reviews. You can set up policies that periodically prompt you. You can delegate. You can have people self-moderate themselves. The guests, do I need access anymore? Nope. Turn it off. Excuse me, I just ate lunch. You can delegate it to the team owners, but it is a process whereby you can go in, set up a policy. You can set it to do it periodically. You can do it as a one-off, and then you can do these access reviews and then clean those people out. Because even though the team may be deleted and that user may no longer have access to anything within your environment, that ID, unless you purge it out of Azure AD. It's still going to be there. And, you want to keep that below that threshold. In the case of our 100 user company, that would be 500 guest access users. They want to keep that below. So that's something that you can use to aid and assist in that. So on the next slide, resources. Again, full resources with in-depth documentation and explanations is available below. If you are on my post, if you look down below, you'll see resources listed, right? So I broke them out by the 3 main areas that you can access. So if you go down there, and there's also a checklist, right? A miscellaneous. So there's 3 content areas according to the 3 questions, and 1 extra, just a checklist. Take a look below. You can always find resources like this and others, as customers are asking me stuff and I'm sharing it with them, I try to make it available to you, our readers of our blog site or viewers of the videos. So take a look, take advantage of the resources there. With that, and as always, I want to thank you for tuning in. So you can always learn more about Microsoft's modern workplace in healthcare and life sciences at aka.ms/HLSblog. That's aka.ms/HLSblog. This video was created using Microsoft PowerPoint recording feature. If you're not familiar with it, you should be. Take a look on our site for information on how to turn that on, because if you have 2016 and above, you've got it in your hands right there. Bam. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And again, as always, thank you. Take care. Ask us your questions so that we can help you with Modern Workplace Talk. With that, this is Mike Giannotti bidding you have a great day. Take care, and as always, ciao.